It's another ordinary Monday in our homeschool, but I have to constantly remind myself that each day is a gift from the Lord and I don't want to waste a moment of it. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Sherry, author of the blog Our Life Homeschooling and grateful mom to 10 kids. I have a heart to remind moms that motherhood is ministry. Homeschooling is simply an extension of parenting, and our time with our kids is very short. We can't afford to waste a single day in raising these precious children that God's placed under our care. We're starting another homeschool week. And I've noticed in certain seasons, and just from time to time, I can get this attitude where I just think I'm getting on the hamster wheel again, making another meal, another day where I'm going to be cleaning up, chasing after kids, sitting, listening to a reading lesson again. And I forget how important the work that I'm doing is and how it has eternal implications. I have to constantly remind myself that every moment is holy. I came across a quote by Charles Spurgeon recently where he said, "Consider how precious a soul must be when both God and the devil are after it." There's a battle over the souls of our children, and I don't want to waste a single day in pouring into them. God's placed these children, He's stewarded them to me and my husband, and I want to use this time wisely, just like it says in Psalms, teach us to number our days that we may have a heart of wisdom. We had our first homeschool graduate last year, and boy, I'll tell you, when you have a child that goes all the way through and they're finished, you know it's coming, and everyone tells you how quickly it goes by, but when it actually happens, it makes you realize how short your time is with them, and it makes me really value the time that I have left with the rest of our children. I'm just getting a few things done around here, getting our laundry started. Benjamin's my little helper. You can see he goes around with me as I'm starting the fire and getting the sourdough going. My husband and I did something last night that we both decided we definitely need to keep doing. It was a busy weekend, and before we finished our night, we had everyone do a thorough pickup in the house. And of course, nobody wants to. Everybody complains. It's hard to be the cheerleader. But once we were 5 minutes in, we got some momentum, and wow, it is so nice to wake up on a Monday and to just start with a clean slate. It made all the difference in this Monday. We had something kind of funny happen when I was getting my coffee around this morning. Benjamin must have dropped a Matchbox car in our toaster. So when James went to make his toast, we found this Matchbox car. So note to self, always look in the toaster before you put the bread down. Sometimes I make a nice breakfast for the kids when they get up. Maybe one of the younger ones will get up and want to help me make it. And so I'll let them be my helper, and we'll make baked oatmeal or eggs and toast. Or something else that they just really like, pancakes maybe. But usually on most days, my kids make their own breakfasts, at least the ones that are old enough. And I think this is really a good use of time. They're usually just sitting there anyway. It's something they like doing. I think this is a good use of our time. When I have to make individual pieces of toast for each person, usually the kids end up fighting, or they'll be asking me questions the whole time. They'll be bored. When you give the kids something to do that challenges them, it keeps them occupied, and it's a good use of time. Our morning time was pretty short today. I would say on average, our morning time can be anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes. It really depends on the day. It depends on my kids. Sometimes they're just in the mood to learn and everybody's excited. And so we just keep going. We find different things that I'm motivated to do just because they're interested. Other times we've had a late night, we've been running around, and we just do a really short morning time, which usually means Bible reading and memory work and World Watch. But today was kind of one of those short morning times. Benjamin was needing me, and it was just, we've had a lot of great morning times recently. If you're new here, a quick recap of our morning. It's very simple, has 4 parts. Morning time, secondly, is chores, third is independent work. We break to go outside and have lunch, and then the last thing we do is reading aloud. I read aloud in the afternoon to our kids. Here I'm reviewing some of our Veritas Press history cards. This is something that we usually do, but we've taken a break from Veritas Press this year. We've gone through, they have a 5-year cycle. We've gone through it twice, and I just wanted to try something different. Next, we have chores, and this is, I try to remind my kids, their first schoolwork. Your first schoolwork is your chores. Things are pretty quiet here on our farm. We just have our laying hens this time of year, but my husband just ordered some more chicks. They're going to be coming the end of March, and my kids they just love when we get new chicks. So that's going to bring some life back around here. Holland is helping me with the laundry. She loves doing this. Whenever I do the laundry, I try to make sure that I find her and let her help. Her favorite thing to do is to push the buttons. I don't know why that gives her such a thrill to just push the start button and to feel the dryer start, but she loves it, so I let her do that. Back in the fall, we saved some of the seeds from marigolds that I had planted around the house, and my son Will, who's 5, asked if he could plant it inside in this adorable little pot. And I, of course, said yes, but I didn't have any hope that we would see some flowers on it. But he showed me this morning that it's actually budding, and he's so proud of these flowers. I didn't know that you could have marigolds growing indoors and flowering in winter. He's been pretty good about remembering to water it, and everybody's just been watching as each of these buds opens. Even Benjamin, we brought him up there to just look at them. Once my kids finish their chores, we're doing independent work, and it's another day of listening to my 5-year-old read his Bob books. Of helping my son James. He was learning about perimeter and area today, trying to explain the difference in those two things. He's been doing some word problems on that. And the kids are just slowly going through their checklists. We make checklists together at the beginning of the year, but once we get to this point, they really know what's on it, and so it kind of just sits in the box where nobody really looks at it except for me when I go to check it. I was really trying to get in a good school day today because I knew that the next day we were going to be out for most of the day. We had a homeschool skate. Most of our co-op was going to, a couple different co-ops were going to it. And then afterward, my older kids went to their personal finance class where they're in a stock exchange competition. I knew that the next day we weren't going to really be able to get anything done. So I wanted to just try to get a lot of work in today. I encourage the kids to just plug away. One thing that I think is important to say, and if you're new here, you may not have heard me say this yet, is that all the normal things that happen in your homeschool happen in mine. You may not see them in the videos that I show, but I sometimes have a really messy house. My kids fight. Sometimes they have bad attitudes. I have a bad attitude. Sometimes it's a battle to get kids motivated to do their schoolwork. All the normal struggles that you have, I have as well. And in the 14 years that I've been homeschooling, I've learned better ways to handle them. And I've learned that it's just part of the ebb and flow of homeschooling. I am right there with you in those struggles. But I've just learned over time you get a little bit of perspective to keep going. And I think that is one of the number one things that I've learned is that I just believe in what we're doing. I believe it makes a huge difference in our kids' lives. I love our family life, just the slow and simple of every day. And so we have those same struggles, but we keep going. On this particular day, it was really beautiful outside. It was, I think, almost 60 degrees. So as soon as we got the chance, we went outside. Some of the boys went to the barn. They were playing basketball, and I went out with them. Benjamin just loves being out, and I took his socks off and let him walk around in his bare feet, and he loved it. We ended up having leftovers for lunch today, so there was very little lunch prep, which really cut down on how much time I was in the kitchen. I was able to spend more time with the kids outside. Later on, I put Ben and Holland to bed, and then I went out with the older kids, and we were all playing volleyball together. So that was really fun. We were out there for almost an hour. And I'm not very good. We're not very good. Well, my 16-year-old gets frustrated because he is good and the rest of us kind of stink. But it was just great to get some vitamin D and have some fun with the kids. Whenever it's nice outside, it's pretty much a rule of thumb that we eat out. I have the kids just take their lunch to the back porch or the front porch. Sometimes they'll just sit on the grass and we eat outside. Being able to spend so much time out is another part of our lifestyle in homeschooling that I think is just really healthy for all of us. The fresh air, the sunshine, even just when you're outside, all of your senses are awake. Sense of touch, smell, hearing, everything just seems alive. And I think kids learn a lot more from all the time they spend outside.
You kicked me.
After lunch and being outside and our volleyball game, I put the little ones to bed and we came in and we did a pickup. This is what we normally do before I read to the kids in the afternoon. My husband and I were recently talking about how in the past month, it's just seemed a little easier to keep our house clean, and we can't figure out why. I'm trying to figure out why, because I would say typically that's something that has always been something I work really hard at. We all do, but we just have a hard time keeping up. And when you have a house full of 10 children, there's just a lot more of everything, and it's hard to keep on top of it. I think one thing for sure is that we have rhythms and routines that the kids have just been doing over and over. Another thing is that it's winter, so we don't have as many outside activities, no animals here, no gardening. I'm not putting up any food or harvesting. But a third thing I think is that we just haven't been as busy recently. We're not involved in a lot of outside activities right now, and that really makes a difference. We have a lot of our evenings, or my husband works random shift work, but when he is home, we have a lot of that time together. We haven't been doing a lot of running around. And I think where it shows is in our home. It's just easier to maintain when we're all here keeping up with our regular routines. In the afternoon, I'm reading to the kids. We just finished the book Men of Iron, which is a book for my older kids. I'm still reading Children of the New Forest, which is another fun chapter book, but that is kind of a higher level as well. My sister recently recommended the book The Wild Robot, and she let me borrow it, and I've heard a couple other moms say how good it is, so we just started that one, and the kids are really liking it so far. I also read science and history to the kids. I don't do both necessarily every day in the afternoon, but I at least do one or the other. We're reading Mystery of the Periodic Table, and they're learning about the periodic table of elements. One really fun activity that we've done this past week was we traced the table of elements. So I just print one out, I tape it to one of our windows or to our sliding glass door, and the kids will put a blank piece of paper over it and trace it. And the slow work of tracing something just really helps them become familiar with the content. The Mystery of the Periodic Table it's not really an easy book, but we've been doing it slowly, and I'm surprised how much the kids are picking up. I would say that our studies, if I could describe homeschooling in general or our homeschool, we go really deep, but in small, very short lessons. So it takes very little time, and we go through it slowly, but we really go deep. And this week we were talking about how many electrons are in each row of the periodic table. So we learned why the periodic table is arranged horizontally and what the pattern is for it being arranged vertically as well in columns. And it sounds really complicated, but when you take it apart slowly, it's really interesting, and it's not really too hard for me or for the kids to understand. And my 13-year-old, the day we were studying this, she just said how much she really liked it. So I think it's amazing how much you can learn and how deep things can go when you just do it in small chunks with breaks throughout the day. While I'm reading to the kids, we got out these Lincoln logs from the garage. I have just several different bins that I keep in the garage, and I'll bring some of them in and let the kids play with them until I end up finding them everywhere, and then I have them put them away. We put them back in the garage, and then we'll get something else out later, and it's really nice, keeps them occupied. I also have my kids sometimes help with the reading. I don't do all of it, but they do usually prefer me to do it. I don't know if it's just that everyone listens better when I'm doing or what it is. But it's nice for me that I have several readers that can fill in if I need it. Thanks for listening today. I hope this has brought some inspiration to your ordinary homeschooling days, to just remember that each day is a gift and we want to use our time wisely. If you like this content, I would encourage you to take a look at the video that I'm going to leave in the end screen where I talk about slow February days in our winter homeschool. This is another day in the life video that I did. I do one video a week on homeschooling encouragement for everyday moms. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.